Letter 1. Arenalitic Butte, Occident, November 4th, 1872. Most sophomorical Sir, your Greco-Latin epistolet, or Kabbalistical abracadabra, lies before me, deciphered and eclaircized to the best of my linguistic, passigraphical, and exegetical abilities. As a merited castigation, therefore, and to test your wonted longanimity, I shall recalcitrate by funding upon you, in epistolic form, my scaturient cornucopia of lexiphanic sesquipedalities, Johnsonian archaisms, exoticisms, neologianisms, patavinities, edit genus omne. In former epistolary scribblements, I give you the concatenation of concomitant circumstances initiatory to my transmigration to this remote section of the occidental portions of our Colombian Republican coagination. I have also delineated my periculous adventures among the fucated Rubicund autochthones, or aborigines, portrayed various incidents of venations, where I participated in narrating Gregal aggregations of bison and antelope capridae, which abound on the gramineous occiduous plateaus, depicted my primal vision of the elusive phenomenon mirage and the Fata Morgana, and in verity recounted much of my vicissitudinous experience whilst with the caravan traversing the occidental champaigns. I am, however, not oblivious of the fact that when we imparted mutual valedictory conges, I laid myself under obligations to give you a pantographical delineation of the ponent regions upon which I might cast my ophthalmic organs. As it would be a delucid evagation from my customary routinism to comprehend the fulfillment of my felicitations by procrastination or dereliction, I shall, deeming this a suffisance, primarily or prolegomενarily, essay to further exonerate myself of said obligations, and in primis give you a chorographical sketch of this part of our Hesperian domain, and a compendiarious enumeration of its autochthonal flora and fauna. The superficies of the occidental portion are diversified by many altitudinarian, terrene, lapidarious, and rupellary acroceronian montanic elevations, some of cyclopean vastidity and sublime scabridity. Their magnificent glacious pinnacles tower, apparently above the nubiferous regions, into the colliginous Empyrean. The oriental portion is a vast, undulating plateau, extremely longitudinal and latitudinous, having few exiguous dingles. Its terreous surface is covered with the most nutritious autochthonous xerophilous gramineous growth, principally Bouteloua oligostachya, Tripsicum dactyloides, mesquite, and grama. This growth sustains equine, bovine, hircine, and ovine quadrupeds in a state of rotund impinguation during the entire hyemmal season. Artemisia tridentata, the Solosequius helianthus, aculeated Cactus opuntia, and multifarious succulent acanthaceous and acidulated cactaceous plantage, and floriferous herbaceous and graminifolious garniture luxuriate in many localities. The fluvial meanders are limited, and originate from the liquefaction of vast neveous and glacial accumulations in the montanic regions. None are nidigerous, but they are tritaceous and anatiferous. Some are Pactolian, and all are extremely relucent and possess a great degree of diaphaneity. None tardy in profluence. At many points, their rivages, especially in the vicinity of embouchures or disemboguements of arroyos, are replete with a promiscuity of asperifolious, baxiferous, or cocciferous, vinaceous, arundinaceous, and other bushments. Myriads of venine, umbelliferous, corymbiferous, racemiferous, urticaceous, fructiferous, anthophorous, or floriferous plantage and multifarious spontaneous esculent products also abound. The autochthonous arboreous growth consists of aceros, sempervirent, and perdifolious silver emboscages, by no means of a main arduity, or totally devoid of adunsities, nodosities, and nags. Disboscation by succession and conflagrations will deplete same in the next decade. The reptitory, panigerous, bisulcus, and unguiculated feral entities of this domain are ouzels, ptarmigans, ortolans, leverocs, trochides, shalducks, cryos, cocobs, creeples, crotaluses, carcajous, logomys, castors, marmots, malodorous, marapots, spilagale, putorius, lepus campestris, ovis montani, antelope capridae, bison, spermophiles, coyotes, grizzlies, ursus horribilis, and other animals of the murine, sirine, feline, canine, leporine, vulpine, lupine, ursine, cervine, caprine, ovine, and equine genera. Also, penipotent accipitrine and aquiline raptors. There are apparently interminable areas almost wholly monopolized by Cynomus ludovicianus. Viewing the ludicrous antics of these lucery sirine burrowing rodents in their circumcursations, or perched a la homo upon the apices of their coniform tumulosities, incessantly alliterating, one cannot control his risibles. The intermontane sections of this region are as auriferous and argentiferous as any of the austral, remote, austrine, occidental, or extreme occidental and septentrional sections of this republican nagination. They are also foriferous, carboniferous, or anthrosiferous, plumbiferous, and cupriferous. The ubity or fecundity of the soil in the battable sections, when properly stercorated and irrigated, exuperates aeration. Besides frumentarious products, which yield a most saliginose flour, there are produced in campestrin and olatory enclosures, branch, citrals, sarmentaceous fragaria, cucurbitaceous, acetarious, fabaceous, and in verity multifarious oleraceous edibles. There are vast, arid, alkaligenous areas and arenaceous agerations, multitudinous conglomerate buttes, and circumdenudated arenolitic elevations. Such areas not being sketchioriginous and arable will ever be sparsely populated. The nummulary majoration, or crescive dilatation of the terratenants, originates from agistment, coemption, and vendition of equine, bovine, and linigerous ovine quadrupeds, or rotherbeasts, from attention to geoponics, or agronomy, from usurarious contracts and usufructuary holdings, from enhancement in value of preempted terra firma, from venations, agiotage, mining, emperatical pursuits, or mercature, and from general negotiations. The paucity of population in some localities possesses a consimilitude to a mere exiguity. The life of many is bucolic and nomadic. In the opulent and many velatic communities, the optimity of society prevails. However, the cordial compagination of so heterogeneous a mass and ferruginous concurrence of all nationalities, as is the case in some localities, demands time. There must be a prior detruncation of truculence and inurbanity of some of its divisions to obtain the optimity of society in secondation. Appetition for occupation, synergetics, electriomacy, tauromacy, and circumforaneous evogations must undergo imminution. The comportance of the major portion of the occidental leod is by no means truculent, celestic, or immerigerous. Nevertheless, many are subdilous and have a great inhiation for captation, veneration, the coercivation of pelf, preemption and coemption of terra firma, and participating in festal jovialities. The ethics of many are greatly maculated by the vendition and babasti of aquavitae. Localities replete with cades of guardiente, pupilo, skink, and bubba, patrocinated by and thronged with bibbers, whose co-mates, condisciples, and competators are dolts, fanfarons, jobberknolls, answerous nincompoops, maudlin gabalanzes, temulant wandwits, linguacious baraccios, and bateful barraters. They sometimes initiate their Saturnalian revelries with zorophagy and the manducation of ragu, savloy, and polony to give an acumen to their gusto for the imbibition of inebriating potations. As a sequence, what stalt eloquence, what random tentations of the inundation of some vulgar enigma, what perpetuation and ruinous ebriety, what mutual pugnacity issuing in testy consultations and sanguinary pugilisms, such rendezvous are terrestrial pandemoniums. Relative to myself, as you are cognizant, and for some time subsequent to my decession from home, I sojourned with Agnatians and Cognations, who are amnicalists and engaged in terriculture or agriculation. The circumambient and circumjacent country is interamnian, nemorous, and paludal or palustral. My vocation was at first subtegulaneous and sedentary, but subsequently became wholly extraforaneous. Prior to becoming inured to a very castrential mode of life, I very injudiciously submitted to humicubations during pernoctations, which, during the initial part of my customations and al fresco employment, in connection with nocturnal irritations, miasmatic exhalations, and dankishness of the atmosphere, generated by want of apricity, were extremely febrifacient, causing tertiary quassation and febriculosity. In frigidation, formication, cardiology, allotriophagy, and womble succeeded by calenture found entrance into my corporeal organization. I was medicamentally aggravated by a ruoriginous, charlatanical, and encephalous medicaster, not being extra scient in ecology, iomatology, soteriology, pharmacodynamics, and in the impartation of acritics, ekphrastics, and other pharmacons, and moreover, having erroneously diagnosticated my case, greatly minorated my eupepsy, and occasioned me to spend many insomnious nights. In my brief swevens I endured circumvallation of pigwidgeons, cacodemons, and audible simulators in my hands. Upon these supervened sinorexia, leucophlegmacy, turgid muns, and synchonism. I am now robust physically and sane mentally, or mens sana in corpore sano, with the exception of a slight odontalgia and cephalalgia, but not the slightest symptom of nostalgia. Eulogium to the supermundane powers for the revivification of my physical organization, and for my invalescence and complete analepsis by means of antipyretics, cholagogics, peptics, anticorsotics, and other medicaments. Also, balneotherapy, kinesipathy or kinesiatrics, and migration to this salubrious clime. Since my ubication here, my functions have been bibliopolistical, bucolical, agronomical, paideutical, and negotiatory. I have perorated the ponent regions quite extensively, and have witnessed many peregrinities and neoteric occurrences. I will now terminate this protracted autoschediastical scribblement by imparting to you the verity that as yet femininity has not parlously fascinated me, though I am not by any means a misogynist or a misogamist, affected with neither gyneolatry or gynophobia, though somewhat of a philogynist. Desiderating not to be jibed with connubial relations, I have come to the elation to be solivigant yet many annuary epochs. I shall offer no exculpation for hieroglyphical chirography, autoschediastical orthology, cacography, and cacology, but leaving it to you to decipher, etymologize, and declassicize to the best of your lexicographical, lexicological, orismological, and philological abilities. I am, most lexiphanically, your quondam condisciple, Ivan.